Awesome.
Start.
So for me, like, do the best, man. No, I thought he just started by recording. He usually does this. Oh, you want to announce?
Yeah, this is a big one.
This is a big one.
Renale Mr. Party is a big one. Yeah.
No, we are back. We are back, of course. Findings, another episode. I don't even know what number we are on. I just know we are
This is
on
good.
another number.
I was hoping for this part where we don't know.
Yeah,
good.
Because it shows consistency now. It's like, I don't know where we are. I love this. I love not knowing where we are.
Yeah. So on the number unknown, this is a special one because not only do we have a guest, but we have a guest, right? In many forms, like in terms of the work that he has done, whether it's on screen, theater, or even behind all these administrative works. And then now we are also going into the work that he's done to go to be honored for the Tembisa Theatre Weekend. We are on this week, right?
For sure.
We are like on this week because we're having the opening this Saturday, right?
21.
So this is a really special one. I'm not going to say a lot that is going to take away from a lot that has to be said.
Yeah.
Right? So, but we have Mpho Molepo in the house. Thank you very much for coming. How does it feel like? Like I'm wondering. I think if there's something that I want to steal and put it, or like borrow it into me and then bring it back, is like, how does it feel like to be honored? And not only just on these other big platforms, but in the spaces that people would call the spaces we come from.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I think for me, much more grateful being honored, and I'm happy that I've never won an award. And I mean, this is the third one. There was one in Alex, which they did, which they also gave an honor. And then the second one, which was another one by the Civic Theatre for Joburg City Theatres last year, which was also an honor. And now this at TX, like deeply rooted in the culture of where I come from,
For sure.
which mainly is within community theatre and township. And I think I feel much more honored that even my people of where I come from are able to acknowledge the work that one has done over the years. Yeah.
No, interesting, because when we are looking at places like TX, we all have a testimony here.
Yeah.
That's like where when we started theater, especially like in Speak with Masai and I, when we started like doing our theater works, would start them at Tembisa Theatre Week.
Of course, yeah.
And then after that, we're like, okay, it works. Let's take it somewhere else, right?
It has become like a formula, right? I like the fact that it's like such a great incubation space, right? But also, in fact, it used to be a great incubation space, which it still is, but it's just also a space to orbit back to, right? Not just to go there to incubate, but also just to present works for what they are, you know. And what I've loved about that space, and obviously we're going to go into it, is the type of audience development that it did over the years. Because a lot of people sort of like think it's so easy when they see the audience that we have accumulated over the years, and they think like, oh, this thing was done over like, you know, last year or 3 years. No, this is.
But it's the consistency, isn't it?
It's the consistency of it all. Yes.
It's the consistency that we need in communities.
Yeah.
There is a need for that kind of a space.
Yeah.
And I think what we're missing at the moment is creating a space without a culture behind it. So it opens, the other time it doesn't open, and all of that. But if it's a space which has got sort of a culture built around it, then that consistency calls itself. It's not like we want to be consistent.
For sure.
No. It's continuous. Over years, you have created this culture. We do this, we do that, we do that, we do that. And that has become part of the anatomy now. That you know that space is identified with that. Now people will call and say, can we bring a show?
For sure.
Yes.
But I have a question. There's a much simpler question that people usually ask about, like, when did you realize that you're an artist, or like that sort of like question. When was your inception? My question is more, at least more personal. What kept you in the art, especially when I know that there's many reasons to leave, right? But what kept you? Because at this point,
let's start with the first one.
Yeah. No, we can do. Okay, answer the first one.
That one is the normal one.
Yeah,
People
it's the normal one.
So
how
did you start?
Yeah, how did you start? I'm like, okay, cool. But then what is very deep for me is that you enter a part of your career where you sort of look around, you look at the options presented to you. Because maybe you're a writer, you can go into other stuff, right? Maybe you have a degree that also allows you to go into other stuff, but you insist. Like, what is the root of this insisting? But yes, we can answer both.
Let's start with the first one.
For sure, yes.
And then jump into this one.
How did it all start?
How did it all start? Yes.
The beginning.
Which is, I think it's very important because
For sure.
because it also involves other people.
Okay.
And I think it is important that maybe
Acknowledgement.
now when
as you're being acknowledged, you need to acknowledge others.
also to acknowledge them. So a teacher of mine who was teaching in a middle school at standard 7 asked me to come and join a local youth group in a church where he's a leader in that church.
I see.
And that is the Roman Catholic Church. Used to have, during apartheid, used to have what they call Kiro youth clubs.
Okay.
And he asked me from school to come and join. I used to be in the debating team at school.
Yeah.
And he felt I have more than just to debate.
Sure.
So he said I must come and join the
Hey, I
group.
was also in debate in
Same
school.
here.
Yeah.
And then I joined the group.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was it.
It sparked something, yeah.
Because every year, then the Roman Catholic Church Kiro youth clubs will compete in drama, in dance, in music. And that's why I started acting. And I started attending all those annual, so it's like an annual camp.
Yeah.
So you'll have all the youth clubs from all the Roman Catholic Church, from all over the country, even outside the country, that will gather in a camp somewhere in some bushes. And for a week, it's dance, it's music, it's theater, it's competition all around. It's soccer, it's netball, it's all of those activities. But the good thing about that at that time is that we could create anything, even if it was political.
I see.
But we were highly protected by the church.
That's interesting. And how long
That
was
is interesting, yeah.
In the 80s.
Yeah.
Because I think for me that will be around 86, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
It's a long time.
we weren't
85,
born.
We were not there. All of us.
around 85, 86.
I mean, there is...
But there are a lot of other people that really were in Kiro in those years.
Are these some of like the lesser told stories about those times because of maybe of a specific narrative that is being sort of pushed? Do you think like such stories are being sort of left behind, especially when you're talking about the involvement of the church or that shield that it presented for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, when you hear the word, for example, let's just say you hear the word Fathers Magaliso Mkachwa, for an example, people think politics.
Yes.
But people don't think about a church called St. Charles Lwanga, which had one of the best youth groups from it that we will compete with from the other churches.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, in terms of us telling stories, I don't think we've started.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Unpack that for us.
Yeah.
We so much see in the present. So there's a gap.
Okay. There's a disconnect.
Yeah, there's a gap in our lives in terms of even the stories we are seeing, or even in terms of stories that have been told in theater.
Yeah.
So somebody will say, let's just do an example. Somebody says, I've watched Marabi. It's a certain era.
Yeah.
But that era, it's so it's so rich if you think about it.
Yeah.
Because then you're thinking about, oh, Marabi, that era of the Serpent Players, that era of Workshop 71, all that era, Mamu Players, all of those. There was a certain culture around that particular time.
Yes.
But then what happened in between that time and now?
What did happen? Where did the shift happen culturally, such that such theater or art groups have sort of taken a back seat, and what has occupied that front seat, do you think?
Is because there was a specific generation of people who saw the role of art in a society maybe differently from the gap or from us.
Okay.
Art was more like a weapon. They will really reflect on the society much, much more deeper.
Sure.
So if you really look back and think of that generation, the Maishema Ponya, the Sipos Palma, all those that kind of generation, they were highly politicized, but even their art spoke a lot about the people themselves. Yeah.
There's an interesting thing about those times, because I was introduced late 90s. Into the art thing, 99. People that think I'm old, I'm not. So there was a clear intention during those times, Ramposa, about what the community and artists were fighting against. They were fighting against white domination. But if you look now, the current generation of makers and theater makers, before we recorded, you spoke about institution producing performance than artist. And if we look into those parallels, we see that the current generation, they have different things that they try to fight, and they cannot find themselves in one space where they are writing or creating about fighting a certain system, which I think the creators that existed during apartheid, they had to fight against the white domination. And now we need to fight gender equality, we need to fight this, we need to fight that, we need to fight that. And how then do we really put it into like one fight and say, these plays, these songs, these poems are fighting this particular system?
Yeah, you see, I mean, you're using words like fighting intentionally and all of that. Yeah. And somebody will always say, but the era provided an opportunity for people to make those reflections at that particular time.
Okay.
Yes.
But even if they are saying that the main bigger fight maybe was white domination. But why are they not making reference that even at that particular time there was a bigger fight for black unity? But there's never reference to the black unity that we experienced or they experienced
during that time.
At that time. That the community was so united in a way that there will be no crime, there will be nothing. Everyone will be a child belongs to all of those things. But we never make references even to that time. We might have now coined it and say the bigger description of that time, how blacks were united, is Ubuntu, and Ubuntu becomes a term and it becomes a bigger thing, and they use it as a reference to the other side. Because the opposite of that then becomes the white domination that they were fighting against. But in reality is that the present environment provides more fertile environment for creatives to can tell creative. More. But maybe the space in between then and now is that there has also been just destabilization of black mind or destabilization of thinking itself amongst blacks. In a way.
And minimal reading.
And when I talk about
research.
destabilization, I talk about the focus moving totally away from what matters most to what somebody assumes matters most to us.
Do you think that is sort of intentional? This sort of...
it could be.
Do you think there's someone who's... Do you think there's an agenda to make this what we are right now? So like this separation, or is it a consequence of the time that maybe South Africa, because of the nature of the country, it is sort of part of a global community, right? It does get global influence. It does, because of maybe like the presence of the internet, the presence of the television, the presence of the radio. Our access to information has widened, and maybe it is in that widening that has created this sort of, if I'm going to use an anatomy as a metaphor, these stretch marks, right? That because it widens, it creates these rifts between us. Or is it an existing agenda that these people cannot unite and should not unite, and thus this specific system will be put into place to achieve this thing?
Yeah, but that destabilization, remember, if we really want to say, but we are seeing this, we are seeing it. You see, at the moment, we are not seeing it.
Of course, yeah.
We're looking at it as if it's development.
Right?
But then But then you are saying development, one of the things that happen in the development is the fragmentation. Right?
Yeah.
But fragmentation is negative in nature. Right? But you're not looking at what are the effects that really happened. Who funded the destabilization process?
Yeah. But I that's what I'm saying. It's like, do we think that there's some type of funding to right now for the destabilization? That's sort of the question.
But you could close your eyes and say the last 20 theater pieces I've watched in the last 32 years of independence, all of them have been painting a black person in a bad way.
For sure.
Yeah.
That is tough, because I've had this conversation before about like the nature of the work that we're putting on stage, and wondering if it is true to what we feel, or is it what people think sort of works. If Nkolisi gets funding for a specific concept, and then Soli gets funded for the same concept, and then I present something different and I don't get funding for it, do I then sort of bend myself to, because it's a career at the end of the day, right? Do I then produce the same sort of work sort of to fit for this thing? Or is it genuinely something that this generation is going through that it becomes this display, right, of
so
this black man,
intentionally,
for sure,
you will make a reflective work on a specific time, and maybe because what is happening at that particular point is really disturbing you as an artist, and you say, I want to make a reflection about this. I mean, we're just talking now. Okay, I'm doing a tragedy now, but it's so violent in nature. But the question is, at the end of the day, what are we saying about this violence?
For sure,
because in the last 15 years, definitely or as an outcome of apartheid or post-1994, we have really become such a violent society, right? And everybody else will make an excuse and says, because we came from a violent era of apartheid, this is the impact of it to us mentally, right? So how are we then dealing with that mental state and trying to address that violence so that it doesn't continue? But we're feeding on. So even us as practitioners, we are now contributing to it. Because anything you watch out of us in television or in stage, in whatever, it's very violent, one way or the other.
But why
But
is
we've
that?
never just took a story of an old woman who sells some vegetables on a street corner, who raised two young boys to school who have now become lawyers, and they've moved here, or they've built a big house or whatever. But it's a beautiful success story, but maybe dramatically that story will not be
but also
able
like
to
that, but that's more reflection on creativity than anything. I think if you have very good skilled writers like myself, you could forge a story like that, like with the one that you described. You could create a very
but I'm just saying that we're not seeing that in majority.
For sure,
So for example, I was saying to somebody, if we are really saying, this country has got a serious problem with drugs. Right? Who then, out of his normal mind, funds a huge television production that promotes drugs?
Yes, that promotes a family that sells drugs.
So I was just saying to someone, so if we have a censor board, for an example, and all our scripts were, before they are being flight or whatever, they must go through censor board, so the censor board can see if this issue contributes negatively to the society, or this script or this production is going to fuel more on the negative we're trying to deal with in a society, therefore we cannot show it. And people will say, no, but that's apartheid, that's suppression, that's suppression of creativity and all of that. But what we're starting to miss is that's why I asked the question, who is actually funding the destabilization? Because literally, if somebody is going to invest millions and millions in doing that kind of a production, that person is contributing in the destabilization of majority of people who live in this country.
It's a tough thing to like.
It's also when you look at funding models around our country and also even in the communities that we live in. For you to get funding, you need to speak to these things, and how you speak to them is not like you're solving them. You need to speak to gender-based violence, women, people living with disability, drugs, but how you speak about them is not important. I don't think it's important, because they ask you, does your project really touch the gender-based violence or the drug abuse? So that becomes a thing that people look to forward.
That's what doing. Yes, if that is what is being funded, that's usually what people are going to apply with, right? And especially because, like, when you look at like the major, especially television programs, you see like the famous peoples or the people that sort of stick around the longest are the families that sell drugs. What do you think my proposal in the sort of a soap is going to be? It's going to be about a family that sells drugs, right? And as soon as...
But that is just an example. I'm just saying...
Yeah, that's an example,
to say, what we're not measuring what we've been feeding the society ourselves, contributing into the destabilization. And we have now contributed in building role models unaware ourselves, right? The challenge I think that we are faced with now is that if there has been that gap between that time and now, are we aware of it? I think the biggest problem is that we've normalized
the
gap.
So this goes to during your times. Well, there's no new national theatre. I think there's two.
There's
nothing that was
there's nothing new
post apartheid. During apartheid, what was the situation like? How did these national theatres contributed to the agenda of the day? You know, was there any?
You see, now when you talk about agenda, now you are going to those words you use.
The fight.
No, intentional. Once you identify an agenda and you say this is the agenda, then we need to identify what is it we are going to create around the agenda.
Yes.
So
as to support this particular agenda that we want to push. You know, you want to push a certain agenda, right? But if we were to say these were recreational spaces that were created by apartheid, were created by apartheid, also as a reminder of where the colonizer came from.
For sure.
And they could create all those off-Broadway or whatever, all those musicals or whatever that they could create, but they could amuse themselves and really find comfort in a new world that they have identified, right? Over the years. And when we took over, you see, that's where the question comes in.
For sure.
When we took over, did we really have an agenda?
Did you?
I don't think so.
Then what? Fine. Let's now hypothesize this, or at least like theorize it in the sense that what do you think a role of What do you think a role of an artist is or should be of this time? Forget the agenda. Forget what we're fighting. Forget the supposed. What role do you think an artist have, if any?
Yeah, I don't think what I will describe or what I will say. I think the artist role should be. Can only be applicable of the now time. I think it's generally what an artist is.
Okay.
And the words might not describe it better, but artist is the pulse of a society.
For sure.
The reflection of that society is reflected by that artist.
I see.
You know, it's a mirror. It's the society sees themselves through that artist. Artist is a mirror. And those meanings for me, which goes back to what we were talking about, for me, those meanings might no longer be applicable now. Because now we're talking about performers, trained performers. We're no longer talking about artists who have what we call a third eye. And they have a certain feeling about their people and the environment where they are in. And they are constantly wanting to make reflection about the society that they are in. And they become, so sometimes when we say to people, art is above politics. We way beyond any of those, because the reflections we are making, we can be able to make people aware on the direction the society is taking, and we can start saying, don't go there, through a song, through a theater piece, through a film, through. But I don't think that has been the intention that in the last 30 years we've really been pushing.
I think if art is a coin, right, there's a part where coins are two sides. The responsibility of an artist, like you said, is to be a pulse and to reflect the time, right? And I think the reflecting of the time, that's where a lot of people use it as an excuse to tell sort of these horrid stories and sort of this not necessarily misrepresentation, but this one-sided representation of a people, and showing like, we do have drugs problems. So if you tell a story about drugs on stage, you sort of like have right in a sense that, the society has drug problems, your story also has drug problems. The other side, which you now sort of alluded to, is where to from here. Because if you just leave people in that drug world without sort of even suggesting a different path or a different world or a different outcome, you leave them in that sense. I think a lot of producers, a lot of so-called artists and performers, the reason that they sort of were hanging on to this, they use this one side of the coin to say art reflects. Yeah, but then what? Because you've done the reflecting. Now you have to also shine the light to to the darkness, towards a different path. I think that's what the back and forth when we were young, but that's the back and forth that the story user was going through. Was it reflecting what's going into the high school, or was it influencing what was going into the high school? So like there was that discourse. What is user? Is it showing? Because also the high schools, especially some of the high schools that we were from, they were very violent.
Very
violent. Yes, I'm from Mpho in Limpopo. Gangs were like everywhere. So if you tell a story about that, people are like, but are you now encouraging kids to do these things? Or even sometimes, even when you do show the consequence of what happens, because some of the characters in User did end up in prison. Yes. They did end up in prison, but the actors and the performers were so good that people wanted to embody them outside. Right now, it is becoming this thing. The only thing that User lacked is the then what, right?
No, but the then what is, remember, these kids are raised by the schools. Parents don't have access to how their kids are being raised in the schools. But that particular drama series gave an eye and an insight to parents that these are the schools you're taking your kids to. Then there's an access to what is happening in the community. So sometimes I don't think makers needs to give solutions. Sometimes it's just like Mpho was saying, to give a mirror and say, this is what is happening in your community. Your kids are going to these schools and this is how they behave. And you don't know because how do you know, you're at work.
How do you know that the mirror isn't influencing? Like, how do you know that the reflectors, like I'm saying, you find people in high schools that now recreate the scenes from the story, right? Now, you being the mirror, you end up doing the influencing. Because I'm not saying suggest solutions, but at least show a different reality. The third eye that he was talking about is the ability to see beyond what is now.
But we can't run away from the fact that
we can't. Yes,
that art or theater can agitate.
Yes,
right. We can't run away from that, and we had a lot of that. I think
for sure.
I think if we look at some of these productions start from the old time, majority of them they were really agitating to the society.
Yes,
that this is the. But I think for me is what we're starting to talk about now is that part of the impact thereof.
Yes.
You know, what impact do we really think this will have in a society, you know. And are we doing it? And that other question comes in. So if we are doing it outside society or we are doing it within a society, how much involvement is the society in this that we are going to produce? So that every structure. So one of the things that we're lacking in that gap, the gap we're talking about, post-independence, it's in a normal society, not even in arts, it's just active citizenship. Right. So we had a lull moment where society no longer became active in anything, but society then followed a politician. Right. So as a result, you have all of these things that now find a space. Did find a space to can grow. Because the society is no longer inactive in terms of dealing with crime in the township and all of that. But because they were now guided by a politician.
We were dependent. We became dependent. We gave up
which for me is the same thing, that art itself became less active.
It became dependent.
I'm like thinking about it now because I see that something that really is on the surface now is the difference between influence and reflection, right? Interaction of them, and especially like when you're speaking about impact, what impact does it serve? And I think I'm seeing this highlight on the importance, for example, in the art and the responsibility of not reflecting just only on one segment of what is happening in the community, right? Because it's important as much as we are reflecting. Also, it's a thing of like, now what, as you asked, meaning that if there are other stories that gives an alternative kind of an approach, then it becomes a place of access. I think it becomes a place where we can actually access a lot of different palettes of what the community can be. Because as much as there's this violence and all this chaos that has been happening or that may still be happening here and there, we have the acknowledgement of like, even if it's a tiny speck, there is something else. There is love.
So we grew up as screens artists, later became Alex Theatre Company, but we ended up staying together as 12 young people in a township who chose.
So you left your homes?
We left our homes. We stayed there, all of us. At 7th Avenue. But I want to take you back to say, even if it was not, at that time, we didn't talk of funding and things like those, blah, 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 blah. But we used to, so if in Alex Bar there's a World AIDS Day, for an example, we were not funded. But we will create a 20 minutes piece talking about
World AIDS Day.
We'll try and read
the responsibility of the artist.
Yes, we'll try and read and we go and perform there.
That's interesting.
The first amount of money we've ever received at that time, I don't know, 80 what, or 90 early 90s, we got it from Alex Health Clinic through a gentleman who was working there, Mr. Lokoloane, who then funded us, I think it was 30,000 if I'm not mistaken, at that time. And that is the money we took to build a 2-room house at number 68 7th Avenue, where we started staying together as a group. We bought furniture, we bought everything. Then we could now create more work for ourselves. And at that time, as a young people, even if we didn't understand maybe our role and whatever, I keep saying to people, we never even paid for transport. If we wanted to go out, travel or whatever, we'll go to the local taxi association. They will give us transport to take us wherever. But there is no community event where you will never find us. It's about water. We are there. We are doing something about water.
It makes me think here. So in the beginning, there was. I'm glad that I'm finding another similarity. The fact that back then, when we're reflecting on the artists back then, is that it's something. Almost every artist in those times is closer to being a politician. And to name the terms of politician, I mean it in this way, in a complimentary way. That is someone who fought for the community, right? And who held a social responsibility for the community. And we're jumping now in this case whereby it's important. I mean, I'm not against, like, let's say maybe artists being paid, but is there a possibility that the pursuit of I do not perform for
what?
Yes.
Exposure.
Exposure.
I do not perform for exposure.
Yes, that sometimes that gets artists to forget who they are. That they now, in their pursuit of being paid, they forget the social responsibility or the responsibility that they have towards the community, which is something that was strongly there. Like, people left home. And then you see the involvement of, like, the taxi associations, the clinics, the churches, and everything. And right now, I'm like, oh, yeah, let's speak. Mpho guy.
For sure.
And it's not wrong, but is this also something that is holding the community back, that makes everything scattered as well?
Yeah, but I think we shouldn't also fall trap of maybe responsibility at that time might not be
the same
as where we are now. True. Right. So even if people were driven, but there were just that sense of we're doing something valuable.
Yes.
That's also interesting.
So
the question is, at the moment, are you able to say we are doing something valuable?
You know why I felt that?
We're doing things for price now, not for value.
But you know why I felt that? The play Exodus. It deals with alcohol abuse. We were doing it as the South African State Theatre. And in the beginning of the show, I don't have to explain to you guys, but we have shots of alcohol shots. We'll give you at the beginning of the show, you take a shot, you watch a show. The show deals with alcohol abuse and addiction. At the end of the show, we offer you the same shots. 60% of people refused. Like that. we don't. You know what I mean? So that was sort of like a social experiment. But that's not where it felt. Where it felt real for me is like I was in a booth upstairs and I saw like a group of people enter. You could tell like they were from a specific place. And they were from AA, Alcohol Anonymous. These are recovering people. And I'm like, did we give these people shots? Because we might trigger something, you know what I mean? And they all gathered at the same spot in the theater. They all watched, and the performance was brilliant. Celular Ramlaton is amazing in it. And then at the end, they didn't take it. They didn't take when they enter. They didn't take when they leave. But they wanted to see who wrote this. And I was afraid, like, bruh, I hope I don't trigger something because these people want to recover. Right? That's when it felt real, because the play wasn't just entertainment, right? It had a more social responsibility, you know, and it had a bigger, you know, discussion beyond how good the script is, how good the performing is, whether the people are paid, not paid, the lights, where it was. People like, okay, cool. But what was discussed in this thing? And how do I leave with this? You know, that's a lot of people like, when is this thing coming back? You know, because last time I didn't drink for 3 months. I'm like, yeah,
that's what we always wish for.
Yeah.
Can they live here and think about this in the next 30 minutes before just traveling back
just
home?
Traveling back, does it stay with them?
Have this, you know, so sometimes we'll always say, if really we're doing whatever, I'm not sure what is great theater, but could we get them just to be quiet and just be thinking about this when they walk out and get into their cars, and they have that moment that says, what did we just watch? In a true sense of
what happened now?
What happened now?
So how do they look at the world different based on what you've offered?
That's what I'm saying. Can they start thinking
what happened now? People are just people, and when you speak of like a great show that you've watched, the contemporary great shows, what's great about the show maybe was the script and the acting, and you know, but
and it dies.
It dies as soon as the curtain falls.
But we walk out and say, it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, because once we say it was not beautiful, we're no longer friends. We can't speak.
Then what?
But I cannot. I think there's a culture of, I don't know who wrote on Facebook about the directors. They're no longer directors. People are hiring their friends to direct. That's why we have bad shows.
For sure,
in theater, I'm paraphrasing.
I'm not mad at that at all, and I'll tell you why later. But in the sense that, okay, let me just jump into it.
Let me ask this question before we jump into it. There's a thing that Mpho speak about, fairly about, and something that we don't really speak about, and especially in finding who people are and who men are, right?
Yeah.
And there's a culture that you've built with other 12 artists that you left home and built this way of living and doing things for yourselves. And how did that live in you now? Who else is still alive and doing the same thing that you sacrificed your young life for? And then number 2 would be, how did this affect your family? And how then, because you're young, I know, but how did that affect how you start your family when you're an older man?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing for me will be that maybe the 12 of us did find commonality amongst ourselves. We wanted to grow up.
Yeah.
And we wanted to grow up differently. And we all realized that we have talent. And then we then agreed to be together. We didn't start really 12. Even they kept falling. Yeah, and we were not lenient. No, you come to you for we kept falling until this 12 remained.
Yeah.
And
Discipline.
yeah, you know, so and somehow, which comes to that other question now, to say, what is it that kept you and never wanted to leave at any given point? But it's what was inculcated at that particular time. Because I still tell a lot of people to say, hey, in that group, there were a lot of people who were talented. And I couldn't match them.
Oh,
In the 12 or
in the 12, the 12 remaining, there was talent there.
Yeah.
People could sing, dance.
Do it.
jump now.
I couldn't dance. At least I could sing and act.
Yeah.
Mara, there were people who were like highly talented.
So, any shout outs maybe that you could from the top, if you could remember any names?
Star of the group.
I remember all of them. I can't forget them because literally I grew up with them.
For sure.
You know, but I will say over the last few years, I don't think some of them were still in the industry.
Of course, yeah.
They have left, and some might have been a culture that also in the process they developed. You know. Over the years, you know, some were just too good that you'll have to wait for them to arrive before the performer, and there's an audience already.
Superstar.
Maybe at that time they're not seeing themselves, but they are already, you know. So, but we grew up with all those dynamics, and I keep saying, if I was a soccer player, for sure I was a defender. Who couldn't dribble much, who couldn't shine.
You understood.
But the fact that I was so committed, the coach kept making me play all the time.
Like, oh, I'm missing practice.
And I grew up, and later I could hold it, I could do whatever.
For sure.
But the coach and everybody around the technical team felt he's so committed. But he's gonna improve.
Sure.
And he's gonna make it. You know? But and that we can see it even in other industries. That some of the people really were just passionate, disciplined, but also because they might have been driven by other factors. I wanted to change my family life so much, my own family. I wanted to contribute in the betterment of my own family.
Sure.
Even extended. I really wanted to see us living a better life and all of that, you know. The outcome might not be that, but there might be contribution that I feel strongly I have made in my family, 1, 2, 3, in the process while I was growing up and things were going well, you know. But so all I'm trying to say is, how driven are we beyond just the talent or beyond just having graduated and all of that? So that the society that we are building, it's also driven in a way. But I'm not sure that in the creative industry, do we still really have that driven society? Or now is it just qualification and talent and the skill that people possesses? The question for me is, how do we then inculcate that culture back?
I think
if there's anything to take back now between that and now is how do we revive some of these cultures? I mean, people will always say, we don't even know. Some might have not even met him and what. Yeah, Gibson Kente used to travel and go wherever. But it's a culture he created over the years.
Yeah.
That he creates a production, and that production goes township to township in a bus with this artist. 20 of them in a bus. They get there, they stay in a bus or they stay in a school, but they create a show, they charge whatever that 10 cent or 20 cent at that time. From there, they leave to another township. So many people you could meet, old people that you could meet, and you say, I'm in theater, but Gibson Kent. He came in my village in 19 what, with how long? You know how long? You don't know how long.
I think
But
that's,
I'm saying at the moment, we do not have
that culture.
That kind of a culture. Where
things are saturated in one
where
place.
people have access to the art in a way that today we have TX as a space in Tembisa, right? But we might not say we have other spaces in other areas because we might be waiting that theaters are built. Waiting for God.
No, I think there's a thing around between that time and how you speak of these people living homes with Gibson Kent and a bus and traveling different communities. Then what happens to my interest now is what happens to your family? And you spoke lightly about it, that you wanted to better your family and take them out of an extent. So how then does an artist life of an artist being supported by the immediate family, looking at the things like you have to be in a bus and you'll be back in the next 8 months, how does that affect the relationship that you have with your mother, your brothers, and all of that?
In that group, in that church where my teacher took me, Mr. Mokotong Shigi, where he took me, for the first time, my mom came and saw me perform there for the first time.
Yeah.
And from that time going forward, my mom will also remind me, hey, it's time, are you not going?
And then that created a support structure for you.
That meant a lot up to today, because it's the biggest support I've ever received.
Have you always had like a
Mara,
vision
I
of
used to go there and she didn't understand.
Have you always had like a vision of your own family and how that's going to sort of like, based on how your mother raised you? Did you have like an idea of what type of family that you would have before you had kids? Did you have like, okay, this is the sort of type of life that I want to lead?
I think my identity as a person really started to develop much more when I became in the arts, honestly speaking. The other part of me, I would have seen myself as a businessman running a panel beaters, or by now would have been a taxi mogul with 100 taxis. But I could see myself in those spaces.
For sure,
and I participated even briefly or whatever, but I could see more of a business person. But I think something happened with that little thing that teacher saw in me and invited me to that group. That thing never died over the years. I could try and disappear to one angle, but that thing never disappeared.
And if you were to explain that thing, what's that thing?
That thing that he made.
Because we also have this thing of, there's this thing, man, I don't know what, but you are speaking of it,
when somebody made me realize that I have a potential to can do this.
And that kept you going for years.
And, because then I started believing in it so much that no matter whoever takes what away from me, the only thing that I keep saying to myself is they cannot take that away.
And where's your father then?
So I keep moving back.
Where's the father in this instance?
Because you speak of the mother, you speak of the 12, you speak of the teacher who took you to the group, you speak of Gibson Kenter, but where is your father during these times?
That's a beautiful story because I've never met my father.
Okay.
But I remember his younger brother. if I'm not mistaken. You know, I remember a man who used to be called Ramakhodu, who loved me so much when I was a little child, that every time he's at the shop, then they will call me and say, Ramakhodu is there. Then I will have to run down and see him and give me a sweet and give me a hug, and then he will leave. But I've never met my father. I think the only time I got to see a picture of my father, I was literally 50 years old. And I got that as a present from my father's family.
Do you know why? What happened to your father? Do you know why?
He passed away when I was young. He was a policeman in Soweto.
Yeah.
And I think he got killed somewhere in Middleburg and all of that. Yeah.
And how has that impacted you?
As a man, growing up.
Also as a man, but also as a father, yes.
No,
is it something that you're not sort of considering? It's just living a life?
No. That I think that had impacted a lot in me, because I always felt if I were to have children, I will have to take care of them. You know, so yeah, and that made me to have a beautiful relationship with my children.
There's a play I did called "These Are Not My Shoes," and you saw it once, and then you were just attached to the play that speaks about fatherlessness. How and what are the things about that play that you loved so much? You ended up producing it for some time.
I think of us and maybe majority of other men who I describe them as fatherless men. You know, you become a man who is fatherless. Yeah. So your referencing of fatherhood is in the environment you grow in. You know. But I had a stepfather later in my life.
How old were you? Okay, let me keep quiet. Let me listen.
Which was also very interesting, because he was just another character that I learned a lot, and I saw him and all of that. And that also had an influence in my life. I mean, my stepfather, really, may his soul rest in. But I mean, I'll just give you one example. You know, I was arrested with him when I was 12 years old.
With him?
That's an interesting one.
In a stolen car.
Yeah. You know? I can't say his stolen car. The car. Wow.
Not his. Did you know what was happening?
Later I understood. I was arrested.
I can imagine.
The car was dirty, but he owned a car panel beaters. You know. But I'm just saying that even that on its own has a contribution in me having an understanding of responsibility and life, because he tried, man, to make life, you know. He owned a panel
for you and
for the family.
And the family. Yeah. Because now there's a very strong narrative among South African men when you speak of stepfathers, and people like, you never try to be a stepfather, you shouldn't be a stepfather. And I don't know like where that sort of come from, because there's a great number of people that were raised by step parents, but now
maybe it might just be their experience. You know?
And they're projecting.
I mean, you can understand those years. I mean, in Alexandra and all of that, my stepfather was a very violent man. You know, very violent. You know, but it doesn't mean I have to become violent. You know,
for sure.
You know, and that has helped me to stay so positive in a way that I really stand against violent men, especially in homes and all of that, or against their own children and all of that.
So, because you also had it, there's a thing about you love caring and solving problems and caring different communities in different times of your life. Does that come from the void of not knowing your father and the hurt, or maybe lack of a better word, the abuse and the violence that you experienced from your stepfather? Is it you trying to heal that boy, or closing the gap of that boy in your life? Because you're carrying a lot of people, lot of organizations, lot of development, and a lot of stuff.
You know, we could have this whole podcast there, and people just pick up this particular part.
And they make it.
And they make
a video, 30 seconds.
It's about
video.
that. You know. And I want to discourage that, so that people don't have things out of context.
They must get context.
The context is I mean, I grew up in the right time, I must say, you know, and I was very fortunate also. Even in the theater industry, you know, I was very, very, very fortunate because at a very young age, so many other people could identify maybe what seems like a potential in me. And they offered me opportunities, you know. I mean, I used to say to people, I was a member of the theater management of South Africa at one point when I was young, coming up. With all the people who were running theaters, where they will meet and discuss about theater. But I used to sit in that particular committee, but I didn't have a theater, you know. But it's because somebody identified a potential in me and gave me that opportunity. I served in Grahamstown National Arts Festival as a deputy chairperson under many, and Sibongile Khumalo, the late, may his soul rest in peace, for almost 10 years. But I was young, you know. So all I'm saying is, if I grew up in a negative space, or if there was negativity at some point in my life growing up, the greatest thing maybe about me is that all that negativity brought the positive.
I see.
And
art was a space of expression.
I have no excuse of saying, because my stepfather did that, or who did that, then I became this, and I became that. No. Everything that happened later in life was, I've learned my lessons, I've read what I could see, and this is the direction I'm taking. But I think the biggest thing for me has always been, part of me has always been being decisive as a person, that you are able to take decisions. I was giving young people a few weeks ago in Free State, in an art beat festival. They were just talking about me and my career, and I was telling them, and I was saying, I would have been in Izo. I was casted, and I remember I went to go sign the contract. And I remember when I got there at Munin, may her soul rest in peace, I didn't sign because at that point I didn't agree with what I was going to be paid. But that did not impact negatively on the relationship that I ended up having with Angus Gibson later, because I did another project of his, you know, and he paid, and they paid me what I asked for at that time. But and that for me is from that young age that I was able to say. I remember I went to sign at the market doing Ways of Dying. It was going to go on tour, and I went to Regina to go sign a contract, and I didn't sign even at that time because I didn't agree with what I was going to be paid at that time. As young as I was, as much as I didn't have that money, you know. So, and when I talk about it now, I say, so what was the outcome of my journey up to date? And one of the things I'm realizing is that I've always been principled on who I am and what I want.
Yes.
Did
So
you learn that in the art?
if anything, I've learned the hardest way. Remember, I mean, I could have been, I don't know where I would have been by now if I didn't take some of these decisions. You know, how many times have I been fired from the production? So, but it's through that hard journey that this character development keeps growing, and until you start to accept yourself, to say, no, I'm like this, I'm like that. If they can't pay me what I want, then I must create my own way.
For sure,
You know, if creating my own work doesn't work because people want to be paid before we create work, then maybe let me design a project.
100%. So this contract thing has followed you through and through till you're old. How did your life at Generation end? Was it a contract?
They're gonna choose that one.
But you're speaking of context.
No, I'm just saying,
because your principle is very strong.
People will be picking on minor things.
Yeah.
No. My story with Generations, really, somebody will look at it maybe in a bad way or not in a bad way. But the reality is, I was on a monthly contract with them, where I was paid on monthly. So you sign it for 12 months. And the contract is very clear. Each party has a right for 3 months' notice
Of course.
And at one point, they gave me 3 months' notice.
Yeah.
To say, the character story, we won't continue, blah, 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 which was fair. I mean,
it's fair.
I accepted and I signed that little form to say, no stress, thank you very much, because the 4 years really that I've spent there has really had a huge impact in my life. I've managed to change 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
But my contract, remember when they gave me the notice, my contract was ending in 6 months.
Yeah.
But when they give me the 3 months, the 3 months has got a date. It's going to end in December.
Yeah.
And I accepted. And then I continued shooting now as part of my exit.
The only job I've ever had was at Generation.
And then
That's the only job I've ever had.
Oh, yeah?
At Generation.
Well, what were you doing?
I was doing sets.
In November of that. So they gave me in September, October. In November, they then said, look, we want to change.
Yeah.
We don't think we want to lose your character, but we can keep your character on freelance basis.
Oh.
So they could just call you in.
Yeah, when they have a story or whatever.
Yes.
And my general take, I think, was no stress, even if it's that.
Yeah.
But because of my contract hasn't ended, you terminated it. I can't sign a new contract
For sure.
as a freelancer.
Yeah.
Reinstate my contract until it ends next year, March or April.
So we start on a clean slate. Yeah.
Then March, April, let's sit down and discuss a new contract.
Yeah.
And we differed right there. And I said, then if that is the case, let's maintain the termination.
Yeah.
I mean, you never really know what happens in the writer's room with the producers and whoever's up there.
Yeah, you can't have huge expectations of a lifetime.
Exactly.
That's why I had accepted the termination.
Yeah.
But coming back to me and say,
yes,
no, let's change the conditions before that other one ended, I just felt, no, it was not fair and I couldn't take it. But remember, you can say things to people, and I'm one kind of those people who will then say it. I said it. I said how I feel at that time. To say, no, I don't think this is fair and all of that. But it doesn't mean my stay was bad. I had a beautiful 4 years. It's just that part where labor comes in and how they want to treat that process, which I didn't really appreciate. But I had a good time.
Well, what advice do you give to like young actors who just entering like the soapy scene? Doesn't even have to be generations, could be whatever. What sort of cautions would you give to them? Because some people, you don't seem to have taken it that personally. It's like contracts and business
No, they do. They do act.
Yeah. So, but then, what sort of advice then would you like give to like a young actor who's just starting these things? Like, listen, these sort of things happen. What sort of things happen?
I think that's the other question. We keep going back. That question of who am I in this space?
For sure.
And how do I see myself? Do I really want to be famous? Do I really want to be on television? I don't think I really want to be on television.
Yeah.
If it happens for me to be on television because it's a good role and it's paying well, let it be. But I will not be in television because anything that comes my way, I must just do it.
Yes.
I mean, you see, for the years that I've been, I've done on these big ones. I've done Scandal, which went very well, which was nice character.
Yes.
I really liked it. Even Generation's character was nice because it
That's the
pulled
story
me.
you tell.
Yeah, because it pulled
About
me.
Morocco.
But he was a very disciplined old man, morally, and I could see myself representing that character, loved by old people and all of that. For me, that meant a lot. But also on the other hand, I keep telling young people to say, if I waited until this age to be in Generations, and finally I played such a big role that was played by biggest names in the country.
Yes.
And a biggest say name in television, in actual fact, I feel so much honored more than anything else because I really didn't have that expectation that I might end up playing a part in it like in Tate Joe Mafel as a Moroka. You know, or Tate Peto.
It's a big one, yeah.
It's a
big
biggest.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing in my life. So now when somebody sends me to audition and say, "Go and audition for this policeman," I'm going, because what will be bigger than what I played there? You know, and that's why when I keep telling people to say, I've also feel like my life generally in the industry has went full circle in Gauteng. And that's why I keep talking about it's now time to go and invest everything that I've learned in a village where my family comes from and build an academy or build an institution there and build a small theater space there and introduce the arts in that particular community. And that's why I keep talking about now living Gauteng, and I think that age is just now.
What lessons?
So where are you from? Where is this village?
My family is from Molepo, a village in Limpopo.
Another one.
And my family there, it's a big family. Molepo, yes, from both, yes, from both my father and my mother's side. And I feel home when I'm there. Even if I didn't. It's not far. So that's where I'm heading towards. And I think this honor for me comes at the right time.
What lessons?
Because I'm living this year. By June, I won't be in Gauteng.
What lessons did you learn in the arts that you're applying as a father, or what lessons did you learn as a father that you're applying in the way you practice as an artist?
I'm not sure if you could really say, this is what I've learned, this is what I've learned. But I think one of the biggest things I've learned generally is survival, to survive. Over the last 30 years, if there's anything that ever happened to me, it's learning to survive Gauteng, or learning to survive as an individual.
For sure.
And I think if there's anything I will say to my kids all the time is they need to find a way to survive. You know, more than dependency and all of that in me or whoever, but they must learn to survive. And to learn to survive, it's a process. Because one moment everything it's bright and beautiful. One moment things are just too dark.
Grim,
you know, and sometimes you really don't find your way. You're stressing, you're frustrated, you what. But in most of the time I keep saying to people, you know, sometimes because of you've survived for so long that sometimes when the world's supposed to crash, somebody just raise their hand and say, hey, don't fall.
Yes.
Come balancing
Come on, balance.
Yeah, and this now.
And it happens in a way, it becomes unbelievable. Is it really? Definitely. But over the years, those moments have happened.
Yeah. So you've contributed highly in the theatre industry, even in the policy development of theatre and dance in this country. Do you think now that you're going home, we can call it a retirement, but you cannot retire from who you are, you're an artist. You'll continue. Do you think your contributions and what you have done in this country as Mpho Molepo, do you think people get it? Do you think the industry is moving to the direction that you hoped for when you decided as an individual that I'm going to contribute to the great cause of the development of theatre and arts in this country?
Okay. The first one is I don't see this as retirement. For me, it's also just testing my own strength, because it's a beginning in an environment and a territory where art is not as popular as in Gauteng or maybe other urban areas or whatever. I'm going into a rural place where it doesn't exist. But it doesn't mean there's no talent.
Yes.
There's just haven't been maybe people who are nurturing it and finding these young people and nurture them. For me, I think it's the biggest test.
Of
I've also been worried about my own passion. Why have I been insisting of going? And finally, I've started to believe that I must go.
It's necessary.
It's a calling now.
So so to a certain level, I start to think this thing, the way it has been pushing me, it's like my own ancestors are saying, go home. If you don't go, we are going to close every tap in Gauteng until you feel, you even quit the arts, So just go now. We will make a plan for you when you are there. Sometimes it feels like that, So that's why I'm not seeing it as a retirement. But secondly, in issues of contribution generally to the industry and the sector in general, for me, if anyone acknowledges the little contribution I've made, which is this, I become very grateful. But if you talk about key issues of policy and all of that, for me, I love discussing issues of policy because policy is an agreement between government and the people. And if in the arts there are no policies that are driving the sector, then artists will remain in the same situation forever and forever. And they will become personal and all of that. But because I was giving somebody an example and I was saying, look, we have big theaters, 5 of them, or 6 of them across the country now. What is the biggest problem with these theaters?
They don't produce work?
They are not meant to produce by policy. And we can't blame the people who are running them. They must make provision of whatever they receive from the state to say, I'm saying 20 million or 10 million reproducing shows. But they are not mandated to do that. They are called receiving houses.
I see.
Right.
I see,
But the fight with all of us has been about access.
Yes.
Access to what? Those people can just keep those places open and running. They will have done their work when they report at the end of the year. They're waiting for you to go get money, NAC, go ask for space, and they charge you. So, but I'm just saying, it's a policy matter. It's got nothing to do with the people who are running the theaters.
I see.
Because I make much more. If now I'm asked about how we can improve the theaters, I keep saying, you need to be able to say, here is 50 million or 80 million extra from what they are receiving for them to run productions at the highest level. Let's have production. And also, I was saying to somebody, why don't we become smart like now? We have this 6 theaters. Why don't we model them? And when I'm saying modeling them is that we're saying this becomes our Hollywood space, right? And here we know shows will run. It's big shows here. It's big musicals, big directors, 6 months, 8 months running. Here is a huge investment. If you take State Theatre and you say maybe that becomes our Hollywood theatre in the country. Then you say followed by who? Then you say maybe followed by Joburg Civic Theatre. That's another level of Hollywood. 1, 2, and then followed by what? You say no. Then there's Market. Then there's another big space as Hollywood in Artscape, followed by Baxter. But you create levels. But not everyone will have a right access to go and perform in those spaces.
For sure.
You should have gone through a certain particular journey and a process to find yourself at that one. Before that one.
But you are now at Broadway now.
You were telling me about what in Broadway?
Broadway, that those directors are not interested to leave. They've been directing for too long. And they've built it themselves too.
Exactly.
Broadway is the last level of theatre. If you go to Broadway, where else do you want to go?
But we don't have levels. And we're not
everything is scattered now.
No, but we're not thinking of creating
how
levels.
you're thinking of it is very interesting. How you're thinking of it is very interesting.
By the time,
then there's levels. And there's growth and development. And that is a career.
You know that if you are starting now and you've done over 5 productions, you can be given access to go and perform at that small theater at the market as an entry.
At
As an entry, yes.
Or at the lab, something like
and
that.
then you move to Barney.
But you know that you should have 20 or you should have 15 directed shows in your bag before you can have access at the state.
That would really really push something.
I think also like a lot of people now, especially like these major theaters are existing as their own thing, not necessarily as this leveling thing that sort of should exist.
I mean, people keep talking about creation of a circuit, but that circuit could have more meaning if you really start looking at how we are really nationally developing a certain. I mean, people in other countries really regard us as the Hollywood of Africa, right?
Yes.
But how structured are we?
Yeah, we're scattered.
There's no structure because you look at a show that you see at Market or State Theatre this week, you're seeing it at a community theatre the following
how did we
week.
get here? Yeah,
It doesn't. Let's not talk
There
about
should be
that shows.
spaces that are really not doing that.
We don't take that. We don't. Because also with Broadway, like what Mpho is talking about, Broadway has under the radar, which this is off Broadway. This you are not. You have good shows, but you are there as under the radar there.
For sure.
And then Broadway will have a winter program for those who are good, but they're not at the level of being in
But
Broadway.
we're testing ground with you. Are you growing or what?
And then there is Broadway.
And then there's Broadway. And after Broadway,
we don't have Broadway.
Even in film also. Even in film, there's Hollywood. After Hollywood, where? That's the last level.
So
but
now
we don't have those levels.
There's levels, yes.
There's growth and there's.
We just want to arrive.
We
just want to arrive. We just jump.
That's why we'll also see the present investment that maybe the state is doing to the theaters as being big. Because we're not thinking beyond what we have. You know, we've accepted the status quo as it is. And for me, it's the biggest challenge that in the last 30 years, 33 years or whatever, we haven't started a discussion in changing our landscape.
Why is that?
It's because we're not discussing right things. I mean, I'll give you an example. We will be comfortable that we have TX as an alternative space. But the concept of creating alternative space come out of a need. But that need that comes up, it's inherent from apartheid. Infrastructure development in terms of building art spaces in communities was part of the apartheid government. They didn't build theaters in our communities. Theaters were built in small towns and in bigger towns, but not right where the people lived. But that was the question of spatial development, that everything is away from where the people are. Even towns and everything. So they work, they travel even to go and see their own children performing.
They must travel.
It must be an hour.
But in the last 33 years, we haven't started a discussion around addressing infrastructure that we've inherent from apartheid to say we need now to address that inequality. We start to demand building of theaters in communities.
Which you went back and you're doing it. You're building the LXS Academy.
That's what I'm saying. At the moment, we will be comfortable with what
and we
self-creating. But what we are self-creating comes out of a need. But that need was not created by us. It's what we've inherited from apartheid.
Yes.
You get my point. So all I'm saying is, in the last 33 years, even in the creative industry, we haven't started to have discussions that are relevant. And one example of those is just about infrastructure.
And they're not interested to have that conversation.
No, we must start the discussion ourselves.
We all now.
Remember, Rona, when we meet, instead of having that discussion, we have a discussion about access. Then say about blame mamang.
I mean, all of us now, we're all sort of like we have roots in Mpho, and we've been practicing in the art stuff. But I think it's only now they're building something, and that is after how long.
But that also for me, I keep telling them. I keep telling a lot of people, do not ever think about this as space as a savior.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Because it comes with the inherited policies.
No, it can just become another space.
It's just going to be a building.
With a 10 million budget to produce shows a year.
It's not a savior.
It needs huge visionary around it. And how you'll make it work as a space.
Yeah.
It's something that, like, reflecting on when we had the interview with Antonio.
Antonio, yes.
Yeah, he was speaking the importance of not just spaces of like where things happen, but things actually happening.
Yeah.
And one thing that we can actually reflecting on what that Mpho was speaking about, especially back in the days, is that there weren't these spaces, but there were people
things
and there was
happening.
work.
Yeah.
Whether it's like a clinic, it's like, oh, there's a thing about water that our community is speaking about. We're going there and
we're going there to create.
And it wasn't about, and you'd think about how even storytelling continued, especially in the ancient times, is that it wasn't about where a story was told, but it was that there was a story to be told.
Yeah.
Right? That's why we'll speak about Around the Fire. Around the Fire I don't think it was intentionally, and it was necessarily an intentional thing, but it was a thing of like, this is where people are.
Yeah.
And that's because people are here, then stories will be able to be told. And now, which gets me to want to ask and extend, because I think this is an important factor on the work you're doing right now. What, like, in terms of specifics, like, this is me taking advantage for the fact that we would be able to, years from now, to come back to this and be like, oh, look at you. You started with this number of students that you've had, this number of actors that you had. And look at what it is now, from 1 or 3 actors to it being an institution where it influenced people to be able to now occupy the spaces that are available. Yeah. So what's the name of the place again? Where you are? No, like, is there a name of what you are doing? For example, like we have TX Theatre. Does it have a name so far? Have you given it a name? Or
You see, so my first approach to it will be it's a simple one. Is to do a series of masterclass workshops. Maybe in the next 6 months, maybe from June, going that way.
Yeah.
With names of artists. So you balance a working artist with a celebrity working artist that is well known to create just a vibe and to start identifying those that really have a potential and all of that. So maybe that in 4 or 5 months could give me 2 or 3 people that I feel I can meet with them twice a week or thrice a week, and we create a piece. You see, because the training part of it is you will convert the master classes as you go along into what you call part-time Saturday classes. Maybe they happen twice a month. And you start to build from there slowly. For me, it's a slow. It's not a hurried process.
Yeah, it needs a lot of
I keep
patience,
saying to people that it might take 2 years or 3 years that we finally say, there's our space where we are working from. There's a team of young 10 people that we're working with. The Saturday class attracts these numbers and all of that. But that might take another year or 2 years. But at the moment, how do you introduce
what you're trying to do?
And for me, is not hurrying, not doing anything, is to start introducing this in the community. Then one day we have a play, minimal play from local that we can bring to the village itself. One day then you have a star production like Was Albert with people that are from television.
Like Serafina that you're directing now.
Yeah, but I mean, to bring Sarafina, you need a bigger, you need a bigger budget. But I would have been the happiest if, maybe for example, we were to do Sarafina with local cast mixed with some of this already who are in the production, bigger names, and open that theater in Limpopo with
a band,
50% being Limpopo young people. I mean, for me, that will really become something brilliant. But I'm not saying, I mean, the process is now. If the theater is opening next year, the process is now, which I did share with someone to say, you can literally start an incubation program now. And let's identify over 30 young people that we can start training, like rigorously, you know, and late in December, January, you start creating a production, King Sukukuni or King or Mujaji or whoever. And when you open that theater in 2027, you open it with a big production, local, big.
That you can also because another problem that we're having with these, because of lack of activity in these villages, you don't get production that are from those villages that sort of penetrate the rest of the country and sort of transporting what the culture is from there, and also this exchange of cultures, right? So
but there are people who are creating work there.
There are people
in various villages.
I
mean, we have two coming.
You see now there will be two from Limpopo
for the theater week.
So we need that sort of highway thing to exist, right? Not
but
in fragments. That's what I'm saying.
There's no path. Probably Bramposa is
we
finding
need to create that path. I mean, we're doing the same thing in TEF,
we're doing the same thing.
We're doing the same thing in TEF as well. So the highway is being built, right? Because I think it's very important, especially when you go into Grahamstown. Not necessarily the pain, but sort of the sadness you get when you know that the production that are going to win or something of that nature are probably from Gauteng or Western Cape, because they've had the time and the infrastructure and the culture to do it. And you see some productions that are from home. You can see the potential. You can see what could have been, and how overly overwhelmed they become by these big theaters, right? And you just feel like, man, if only such things that we want to create existed already, we could stand sort of a better chance to present ourselves, on those national levels, right? Or vice versa, the national level things could come and present themselves to us.
Sure. So we did a project in the last 6 months where we traveled all the 9 provinces. But going into communities. So we really traveled. And I kept saying to people, I felt honored also by being given opportunity to be the one who does that particular program. Because from me growing in community theater all those years, and now having 33 years later to travel to these provinces and see what is there, and to have an understanding of what are the challenges now, I felt it was the biggest honor, because for me it was just a full cycle of my journey itself. So we drove. We crisscrossed provinces. We tried driving. Drove from PE to Umtata, back from Umtata to East London. But what I have observed now is that the culture is there. The passion is there amongst older and younger people to practice in the communities. What is not there is the structural support. So as a result, majority of these people in provinces are surviving through the same program we've been running here, the Community Arts Development Program, which I really felt, I could see the value of it now in a bigger scale, to say, if this Community Arts Development Program, that department is running, would have much more bigger investment. It will change so many lives. We could be able to win in some of those communities against other social ills, because then we'll have more people in the arts, because then we can be able to deal away with this culture of voluntarism. I also felt that culture was so negative to the industry itself, especially in community arts, in communities where we are. There's a huge culture of voluntarism that we need to find a way on how to deal with it. And it comes to that part we were talking before the interview about people will not participate if it's not paying. But that culture has been there. Even if now it's over exaggerated, but we need to find a way, because then people are growing, but people are not developing. They are growing in age, but their lives are not changing.
No, this is actually important work, and the reason why I'm saying this, because we had an episode where we really went into going back home, and we spoke honestly about not that we were cowards, but like because we were so early into our careers that it's almost as if it's suicide.
Yeah, it feels suicidal.
Yeah, it feels so and it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing, and that's why I think, like, for me, I know I respect the decision because we know the necessity of doing this. Masai and I, we were speaking about how we wish we ran into theater and like intensively the way because Mkolisi would be like, no, me, I knew it like from as early as 9 years old.
Yeah, we're like, at 9.
Exactly. We're like, I had to finish my whole experience or to even know that there's something called theater.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of know about it. By the time you experience any type of like thing like that, you're already... Yeah.
But to see it, I remember the first time I experienced like performance, like intentional performance. It was a musical, and I was in Good TUT. It was 2014 or 2015. And I'm at the edge of my seat. I'm getting goosebumps throughout. These people are dancing. These people are singing. They're moving all over. And I was like, no, man.
And you're like 23 that
exactly.
time. Oh, to me like
I won Zwagala in 2013.
But you see I mean, he's talking about Zwagala.
Yeah.
So you can imagine at that age, even ourselves, when we started in Alex, the only link we had at that time was the market.
Yeah.
And the market had fascinating programs. I mean, even if your show, I mean, we'll go to community. Community was
showcase first.
Showcase first.
Yeah.
You pass the showcase stage. Community. You're allowed to go to community with a mentor visiting you. Out of community, then you are top 10, which goes into Zwagala. Zwagala's got a winner.
Now we just go straight to Zwagala.
No, not really.
And four.
Like similar, but
yeah. But I'm just saying, at that time, it was such a journey.
It was longer.
It was a longer.
And was it the time when it was all like the whole country?
Yeah. No, with the field work will be done all over. I mean, also as a young person coming up, you wished I could work as a field work. It was a big achievement. If you're coming from community and you know the possibility of workshops are there. I mean, I keep saying to people, if I were to run a space, I mean, it was at the market where I saw Peter Brook. Or a visit by Denzel. But you see, it was high level. Whoever was running the theater. I mean, we could... I remember I used to talk about a piece that came to the market. But it was not the same company, but they did work similar to 3 Lives of Lucy Cabral. But we were exposed to work.
High level
of work.
And market is also where we were introduced to reading, some of us. Because they were selling books outside there for 2 rand, 5 rand.
I think if I'm not mistaken, even the guy who used to do a lot of Atrot's work. But all I'm saying is, you're looking at theater holistically. No small confinement to ourselves and our area, but we engage in the world at that level.
High level.
You know, and for me is I wish I could be in an environment where if I have the power and the right to say I want to call Simon McBurney to come to South Africa and run a workshop. You know, because that exposure of his work and the kind of work he does to everybody or young people or it's a master class or whatever, it's something else that will stay with them forever.
But those tabs seems to be closed of people from outside.
But he spoke of a vision
that high level. Yes, it's a vision. Like that tab seems to be closed and sort of like it needs sort of like a tool to force open it, because it's not. We're not talking about something that hasn't happened before. This is sad because he's speaking out of it as though he's reminiscing, not as though he's dreaming. There's 2 different things. These are flashbacks.
You are lost. You are lost.
It is flashbacks to him, but dreams to us, which is like quite. There's a big
So my first role at the market when I really started working for the theatre, I worked also as an usher for years.
Yeah.
And later I was employed at the lab as a field worker.
Yes.
And we used to have, if you remember, I don't know by that time, but we used to have shows from Mozambique.
Yes, you introduced me to
Mozambique. And they kept winning.
Yeah.
The ones from Mozambique. They were doing great theatre. There was a guy called Mario Mabiala. He used to do great theatre. He used to win every time. And one of the works that I was given was to become a SADC field worker. So I started traveling these countries. In one point, in 1 year, we had 8 productions in the Community Arts Festival, which were coming from 8 countries.
Sure. Interesting.
It feels like we're speaking about a time gone.
Right?
Yeah, it feels like we're speaking about a time past.
No, I'm just saying, maybe in our future partnership in the next 3 years or when you're doing 15 years, let's think of
SADC.
15 productions that we can go look and find.
Yeah. Oh, well, we have one.
This year.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is the great path for me.
It's
really interesting because like
we have 2. We have Mozambique and Brazil.
That's interesting.
That's good.
No, shout out to them.
Well
Because like back to the work, especially you being home and of course the new theater being built. I think this is gonna be beautiful thing for especially for our province, because when it comes to creating work and performing the work, as much as we're not as vocal about it, is that language barrier can be tricky, right? We sometimes, especially like Mopedi, for me to bring work, children dikaspedi, and then I have to perform them somewhere, whether it's for a competition or a festival, that thing of like, what if the judges it does this? It used to happen a lot with like poetry, right? Whereby I'm like, I'm not gonna do like a poem kaspedi because I'm gonna lose this. But this gives the confidence of like, now it's at home. You don't have to worry about meaning that this is something to do with the preservation of the languages, the cultures and the heritage. Now those would be able to have the confidence of bringing Sipedi productions go like beyond just our
when
gates.
You bring them forth, you bring them with confidence. Because like me and you could have done the period anytime earlier on, but for us, the period is an album, it's a poetry piece, so it's all in Sipedi. I sing in Sipedi, he does poetry in Sipedi. But before we had to become this, right? We have to have the confidence to be like, okay, I'm now Masai Sipuru. I have some body of work that could create this pillar. So if someone has something to say about the Piri, I'm like, but you know who I am. You know what I mean? Like, who are you trying to... But then now what he's talking about is that once there is a sense of like pride and that I've created this work over and over again and I'm sure of myself, it doesn't matter where I present it anymore, right? I can now export it or I can now take it out into the world with the language without sort of like the hesitation. The hesitation comes with the fact that you haven't really done it amongst your people. You haven't really done it amongst, your peers, and you just know that you have it inside, but you haven't really tested it. So that has it. You hesitate. But once you've done it and you're sure of yourself, because we're so sure of the Piri. Like we don't care what, but that not
Which
caring.
Is a beautiful album.
Yeah, but that
thank you.
But that not caring, that sort of confidence stems from the fact that we've been practicing for a very long time, such that like what are you gonna do?
Yeah, but there's a thing around people thinking that English is the language.
Yeah.
The moment you begin to travel the world, I felt weird because I believe that when you leave South Africa and go perform anywhere in the world, everything's in English. And most of the time when I travel is Spanish, is French, is Portuguese, and they're not apologetic with their languages. And they participate in the world. Yeah. But I believed also as a young maker in South Africa that for my work to leave South Africa,
it must be in English. And that also plays against you because people are like, but we already have English.
And also
what
now,
do you have?
I have this fancy fellow, ISPA fellow, we gather every January in New York, and there are like 500 people there who are not apologetic with their languages. They don't communicate with you in English. They'll communicate with you in their languages, and they're not apologetic about it.
No, I wanted to say he used the word with pride.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say, but I don't think it should be with pride. No, I think, and maybe I'm not trying to. I'm trying to find right phrasing for it, but I think that decolonization process of us assuming, because language on its own can be used
as a tool of colonization.
as a tool of colonialization.
Yes.
Right, language.
Yes.
And for me, that decolonizing process should not come because you worked to build the name, therefore you can now feel free to use your own language. I mean, one of the greatest theater practitioners I've ever met, who I brought when I was at Windybro some years ago.
Where you gave me money.
It's a company called La Troupe Favori, run by an old man, Henry Favori, in Mauritius. And they did a beautiful piece that I couldn't even hear a word, but I watched the story.
Yes.
I think that's the beautiful thing as well.
It was in French. I couldn't hear a word, but
I felt it.
But after I saw
it,
I said to them, I don't know, there was no money or whatever, but I said, this is coming to South Africa. Immediately after seeing it.
And it did.
And we managed to bring it to South Africa to standing ovations, like great piece of theater. Issue of language, none of them can speak English proper or whatever, but I'm just saying that it was in French. Even if they could speak English, the fact is the piece on its own was in French.
It's fascinating.
The same thing we're going to in Maputo.
Yeah.
So 90% of the place, 95% or 98% of the place in the Fit International Festival, which introduced me to Joaquim Matavela then, which is 6 years relationship. So plays there, then Portuguese, 98% of them. We are the only English productions when we go there. So at least there won't be one play in English this year. The TX Theatre Hub will take 4 productions, which there will be in Spedi, Zulu, and English. But there they are clear. All their plays, they're in Portuguese.
And the thing is, there's something that happens even beyond the barriers of language or the barriers of English. A testimony of it being like, for example, with Dipir, the album, is that I remember last year when we had the reflection, we see on Spotify that it's listened to people in 18 countries.
Yes.
Of which some of the leading countries is like the USA, the UK, like there in Europe, Kenya as well.
Yeah.
And you're like, I was expecting for it to be like local or maybe Botswana,
no.
And then now you have that, and you have even people going like, no, like beyond even listening to and loving how something sounds is that the music, there's something it says, because language is beyond just what we say. And
there's emotion that is packed in there.
Exactly.
Also, there's like quality of the thing, right? Like forget the emotion of, you look at something, you're like, these people know what they're doing. There was effort here, right? You can see that.
But you can feel it.
You can feel it, yes. You can feel like, no, this is something here. There's something to take
See,
home.
once performance is able to transfer those emotions, and I'm able to receive them, then you would have done a great way.
Yeah.
And now that you are doing one of the classical musicals, Broadway smash hit, Sarafina, I mean, how does it feel like? You did an amazing run in the Joburg Theatre, which was highly successful, and this year you're celebrating 50 years of Sarafina.
Yes, I think maybe firstly let's acknowledge the directors of Civic Theatre, Tembisa and James and the entire team.
Yes.
I wouldn't know how they came to that final decision that said, but let's get Mpho.
To do that.
So or whoever proposed. If Mr. James proposed and said, let's get him point, and everybody said yes. Or Sister so whoever. But all I'm saying, I want to acknowledge that. 100%. Because also for me, it gives me those goosebumps of a full cycle of a journey. Because how did it happen that I become the one who will direct or facilitate Sarafina restaging after Ngema's death, and also being done to honor Ngema.
Yeah.
Remember last year it was about honoring him.
Yes,
Yeah.
last year was honoring.
For me, it's a huge acknowledgement.
Yeah.
You know,
And
so-
congratulations.
Yeah, so when I put
Congratulations.
that role I played in Generation,
Yeah.
and I'm saying in theater, Sarafina.
Yeah.
Is there anything about
no.
Sarafina? No.
What's the
Historical, no.
Maybe it's coming. We are coming.
Yeah, we are
we are
coming.
very close. Eh?
No, we're close. We're very
We'll
close.
see when you come back with the Tony Award from Broadway.
We'll
Now we're
definitely bring
close.
it.
Yeah,
we are,
close,
we are
yeah.
this close.
No. I'm just saying at the moment, musically,
yes,
for sure.
historically, and all of that. And for me, it was for days. I mean, I stayed with it, and I was thinking about it. You know, I struggled, you know, because I kept saying, what if I really go below par?
Oh, so there is.
Yo, do you still have those?
Yeah, what if?
Yeah, you still have those what ifs.
Yeah,
Hey, we
that's
think it's
Stanislavski.
I think like when it gets to a certain age, it goes like, nah,
Do this.
You think you would have the pride?
For the first time, in a long time, I really feel like I'm in a drama class. You know, you're going through Stanislavski, and it's just what if?
Yeah.
What if? What if?
Yeah.
And finally, I accepted. I said, yes, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But not easy.
Yeah.
Not an easy process. But it's with that honor.
100.
Not that I'm highly skilled. No. It's also being able to enter a room and listen to these people who have done it.
Yes.
And that's the most challenging part, which I said to someone, that if you're going to restage something that has been done and done so many times, how good can you do it
And it's done so well.
above the people who have done it? And I came with the connotation, we are not going to do anything better than what Ngema did.
Yeah.
All we can try to do is to tell his story.
Yeah.
You know, as good as people can walk away and say, we've been with Ngema again.
Yeah.
That's all. Which was challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you achieve that? Because I'm sitting with.
It's the team.
Yeah.
But there's a beautiful team that they put together. And I think for me, that was what also encouraged me a lot. Because the choreographer is the original choreographer. And the musical director also worked as a musical director with the production. And so for me, having both of them, and I keep saying to them, look, I might not be musically inclined, but I know that Ngema's music is not churchy.
It's not that one.
No. So let's get to that part, which is the same as even in movement. I've seen the piece before. I've seen one half, 1 point. I've seen one half at 1 point. So I could have an idea, but I know the levels that he pushes. And one thing that kept driving me, and also to thank Da Aubrey, because he's one of the people who called me and just re-explained that experience with me to say, you know. He called me just while we were rehearsing to say, look, the only thing you can do is try to push it to a level that you feel satisfied, because that's what he will do himself.
Yes.
You know, they can rehearse and do whatever, and then he will come back and watch and then start tweaking and working and working and working and working.
Because that's
and
the
make it much more tighter.
It's an important thing to you be happy with what you did. Because this is your work now. This is like this is what you interact with. This is what you're calling people to watch. If you're not happy with it, sometimes not necessarily regardless of how good other people receive it, but if it's sort of not, because you are hired to direct this entire thing, you have to push it to the level where you yourself are happy with it, because you're called in because of the history and the talent and the people that know what you are and what you have. You know, they trust your standard, right? if it doesn't reach your own standard, you know what I mean, that becomes problematic.
But that's what I'm saying. The staging, it's quite a difficult one
difficult
to do.
because I'm asking
or
this.
or you, I don't know if we're really using the word redirecting or directing or restaging, but just to do a work that has been done over and over and over the
again,
years by someone who is at that level is the most difficult part.
And who started with it?
Who started with it? Where it rehearsed for so long. You know, they say sometimes they rehearse to whatever 3 months, 6 months, whatever that they say. And we had very limited time to put it together. Now, one of the things that I think worked for me was to become a facilitator. Facilitate my team to come to my level.
I'm asking this question because I'm sitting with a play that is currently traveling the world called Dreamscape. It's currently playing in London now. So they've given me that play to direct it, and dates are out for America, California, and they're out also for London. And it's existing, and it's a 5-star review play, winning awards. And the writer is the director, which is Rekebi Hines from USA. So they've given me that play, and I need to direct that play. And I'm like, these people are doing amazing with the work, but I'm invited to direct the existing work.
And you haven't seen it.
I have seen it. I saw it in Broadway.
Which is the West.
That is the worst.
I've seen it in Broadway.
In Broadway on top of that.
I'm going to direct this thing.
Do you have any team member from the old team?
No.
Yeah,
I have
just
an
by
actor
yourself.
from Cape Town, an actor from Joburg. I have
How many
Kim,
actors?
2. Kim from Cape Town, and then
It's a two-hander.
the 2-hander. And Twarela from Joburg.
That's gonna be
Who's in it?
Sarelon
Kim
Kim.
and Twarela.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yo.
You see, for me, I will say, because it's a two-hander,
Yeah.
you have an opportunity to recreate it.
Yes.
You have an opportunity to recreate it.
And it's a contemporary piece. It's not historic like
It's not historic.
Yeah.
You have an opportunity to recreate it in a way that it could feel, and you could use the word, which is something I kept saying, that we are not going to use those kind of words. You could use, and it's not like taking away from it in a way, but you are re-looking it with a whole new vision.
Reimagining it,
Reimagining the whole thing.
Yeah.
So you could have it, whatever it is, reimagined.
It's the same like with like Waiting for Godot. There's so many Waiting for Godots, and it's just a two.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, at the end, you can reimagine it with that line that says reimagined. So that when they come, they see something fresh, new, everything.
I see.
So that line of reimagine gives you the right to can think about it, not to restage. You see, in staging like huge musical like that one, you can't reimagine it.
You can't.
No, you can't. You have to restage it. But in the restaging, what is it that you are enhancing? Are you enhancing the storytelling part of it? Are you looking at creation of little images that can help enhance the story? Are you looking at the timing part of it? So you have to look at all these little nitty-gritties.
Because it lives in people.
Yes.
Different generations of people.
Yeah. So you can't reimagine it. No. Because then reimagining means reconstructing it, even in the presentation form.
Like Sarafina, black and white.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can't reimagine it. You have to restage it. But in the restaging, where do you sit? From director or facilitator's point of view, then you start to look at all these little nitty-gritty things that you say, let's enhance that, let's push that, let's push more emotions, let's make them realize there's color within this thing. It's not just Then where do they find the color? Where is it emotional? Where does it really hit? So you start to identify.
We're in a workshop now.
I was about to
That's why I asked the question. We are in the workshop
Then we can go back and really.
Then we start to identify those, you know. But one of the beautiful things that we did also for that generation that was telling the story is to have a day with them in Soweto. From Hector Peterson to the actual Maurice Isaacson High, So when they talk about those things now in the story, because some were young, they hear about these things.
Most were young.
Most were young.
Yeah.
So we had a day that we literally spent in Soweto. We went to Mandela's house. We went through. So I just said we need that day with the cast just in Soweto, so that now when they talk about it,
they see it.
So it enhances
It does.
emotions, even in dialogue, even in things that we are saying, because we spent a whole 1 hour in that Hector Peterson and they are listening to all these stories that now are coming into their heads.
Yeah.
So
And
now when they
those
say a
visuals
line,
too.
when they say a line now, it's no longer just a word.
Yes, it's something that's alive.
Because we also have rehearsals in California, because the play is based on Maisha, the girl who was shot by a police officer 12 times and died in the car. So when we're in California, we go to those spots where she died, so they could have that experience. And also the interesting part when Mpho speaks about Soweto and all of the memorial sites that are there. In America now, when you're in America, it feels like you're in a third world country, because soldiers are everywhere with guns, So there's a sense of, and that's why I asked this question. It was a selfish question, but it's interesting that you answered it. That they could also have to embody what this is in a real time.
Sure.
And that also helps.
Yeah.
And the reimagining was something that I wasn't thinking about. I was like, this play makes so much sense. Why am I, those questions, why am I hired as a director to do the same play, But now this conversation
is doing that.
You see, and now I just made an announcement that I'm directing a new play.
Shout out to you.
But that's great achievement.
It is. Shout out to that. Okay, now reeling it towards the tail, almost there. Is I have I'm curious. With the assumption that you have children, right?
Yeah.
Is any of them artists?
I'm encouraging them not to.
Why?
Interesting. Yes.
Why is though?
And wait, how many children do you have?
I have 7.
7 children.
Yes, 7 children. You see, people will be talking about.
No, but then it's 7. We grew up. That was actually like
normal number. 7.
6 of us in my family.
I come from a very big family.
Yeah.
So I've got 7 of my own and 2 from my partner. So now we're talking 9 children. Yeah.
All living in the same household.
No. Yeah. Mine have grown.
Okay.
But at some point you had them in one house.
No.
Okay.
That's the interesting part with my kids. Only one lived with me for some time. But the rest lived separately with their mothers. And that's why I respect those women in my life who gave me kids, because they managed to grow this Molepo clan, and they did really take good care. I mean, growing kids is not an easy part of it.
It is not.
And especially from an artist point of view, you on, you off, you down, you up, it hasn't been an easy journey.
The waves are constant.
But my first 3 kids, I literally grew up with them because I had them when I was very young. And
how young is young?
Young, very young. Very young.
16.
It's high school.
Oh, yeah.
High school. Yeah. You see, somebody will be saying, he was very active.
I mean, that's what we're trying to figure out as well.
We're trying to figure out.
So and I mean, I look at them and we can say Papa, can say Chomi, whatever that they will call me, but I feel so much comfort that they also helped me grow up as a person.
And you've always been present.
But also all of them, to a certain level, they know each other from a very young age. They are much more closer to each other now, even more than me, because they can talk. They talk to one another. They can
help each other.
But all of them know each other. All my kids.
That's beautiful thing.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, besides one that they haven't met is in Namibia.
I see.
Yeah,
that's the number 7.
The last one. How old?
No, second last.
Oh,
yeah, he's 18 this year.
But why are you not encouraging them to be in the arts?
No, I say when they come to me, I will not encourage them to be in the arts. I don't think they need my courage. They need to make a decision.
Okay.
So it's
You're not
like make
against
your own
it.
decision kind of a thing.
Don't get me involved. I mean, my other son, Matlats, was in music, and until I said, go study music so that you become an engineer more than a performer. You know. And I know, I mean, time I want to contact the real performer. You won't get it with me. Not my own kids. And he says, Marota, help Baba go strate when I want you to go through the journey so that you experience it. I don't know the journey those people are traveling. Maybe they just need this information. But when I've been watching you, you haven't started traveling that journey.
Sure.
And you don't have to have that journey so easy. Because once you have it this easy, it's going to destroy you. Because when things are no longer happening, and maybe if you are not great, you know, and maybe when you realize you start to doubt your own talent, then you will be damaged for a lifetime. So you rather fight, and I watch you fighting. Then I start to believe by seeing that this man is really talented and he's fighting. Then I can be able to provide support.
No, that's
but not fair. Support because we have a contact of a father named Mpho.
My father is Mpho.
That destroys a lot.
So it shouldn't be that they are artists because their father is Mpho Molepo.
No, they should be artists in their own right.
Yes, in their own right. No, interesting. And no, this is the thing is I'm noticing that we could speak because there's a lot I wanted to go, especially like more into.
And I came prepared to say, so the beginning,
the middle,
the studying, the acting, the producing. The administrator, the family. So I was rehearsing the whole time. But I'm realizing, yes, we started to say, why are we starting now in the middle?
It's a conversation. It goes wherever it goes. But it says something very fascinating, especially like, we don't have to be specific about the age of the first child. And I'm more interested in when the news are revealed to you. Like, like what is happening? Because the first episode we did, I think that we used to open with like the poems that I used to write.
Oh yes,
Sunless Fathers. Is Sunless Fathers. Sunless Fathers is basically a poem about a young boy who is becoming a father, and he's just finding out, and all of his world is becoming inside out because he's sort of becoming a man at 16, at 15. Or at 17, whatever, and he cannot now view the world the same way as his peers. His decisions are now influenced by this now coming thing. And the difficult thing with being a young father is that it doesn't show on you. With a young mother, it's very evident. With the young father, it's only in the head. It's something that you only sort of go through. So what was sort of like, I don't know if you can...
I mean, I remember very well the image. Even I have it. You know, it's an image I could use one day in a poster or something. I was wearing a brown shirt, no shoes, with a white shoes. Yes, with a white t-shirt. Sort of. You know those white ones. And I was called to say, there are visitors at my house. And the visitors were there and they asked me, do you know her? And I said, yes, I know her. And they said, oh, that's fine. Go play.
Okay, but then what's going on in your head now?
But remember, I could still see her, you know, even after that day. But the support around the parents was, I think it helped us grow, me and her, you know, in a way, because her mother was a teacher, and I had my stepfather at the time was there, and my mom. And I think as both families did find a way to handle it. And my first daughter was named Mpho.
Did that change you in any way?
And I can't even say in her early years of growing up, we did support or whatever.
Yeah.
It was just being present, but the family was well off to.
Also, did that change you in any way?
It didn't push me to become that immediate. I have to go find a job and whatever. No, I think that the family did, the grandmother did very well.
This is beautiful because we've been talking about the importance of a community in raising kids because people think that there's the responsibility of raising a child lies only in the parents and the two people. That's a huge thing.
No, but I think at that time we were just
supposed to be supposed to be community based, right? It's supposed to be.
But age. We're speaking about age. Age plays an.
Age plays a huge role, obviously, yes. But
they were young, and
even I mean, maybe I could be wrong, but even if like you are still at a more matured age, you still require the support, even if it's like emotional support or any type of from other family members, either your brothers or your aunt, even your mothers, your aunts. They need to know that there's a child that is being presented for us, for all of us. Yes, the parent are the one that brought the child, but we are all sort of supposed to be involved in one way or in another. Either it's emotionally, sometimes even financially if they can, because some people are not privileged to give birth to a child when they have like the finance, or sometimes bringing the child stops the finance, right? Especially if you're a mother and that forces you to stop to work, and maybe the salary of the father isn't enough to do this. We can't just leave them just because now this is your problem. If a family, an extended family can be involved, they should be involved as much as they can. Not that they should, but as much as they can.
Yeah, depending if they have or have not.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. As much
in
as they
terms
can.
of the role that they play.
Yes.
But also just the support. I think we had support. You know, that's why I'm saying we had support, because I think there was just an understanding between the families that we were young.
Yeah.
And we were young.
Okay, yes. So there's always a lot, especially when
he opens it at one and then you leave it and it's like we're closing it.
Yes, I know. I think that's the thing. I think maybe that's why people should come to Tembisa Theatre Week. Yeah. Not only to come there to experience just other individuals, but to learn more also about the
legacy.
works.
Yes, to experience the legacy.
No, I think I've asked Mkhulu is here to say, I think I've just seen so many people who are doing quite a lot of workshops creatively and all of that, and I just said to him, look, maybe let's change mine. You know, let's talk industry, or let's talk industry in general, not hard talk, not personal, but let's talk.
Let's talk truth to it. Let's not sugarcoat it.
So let's have a workshop like that. Where we will engage the practitioners and we talk the industry. In depth.
Yeah. So there are two things that Mpho will be doing. We're celebrating Mpho.
Like in a literal manner, like literal.
But the talk is not the same day.
No. Okay. So I'm saying there are two things. So Mpho in the opening will be giving a keynote address, which is another chance to get to other parts that you might not even get to in this podcast. And then the third opportunity will be the hard talk with Molepo. Let's talk industry with Molepo. So is this podcast is the keynote address and then the hard talk. So there are three chances where we could unpack other things. Which also brings me to say we thank you. I imagined alternative spaces and independent space after you've hired me as a kid to be he hired me, gave me my first job.
But we did do it in Tembisa.
You did in Rabasutu.
With the lights and everything.
And we were putting plastics up there to black out. And I think that was the beginning of the idea of we can make theatre in the township and it could be accessible.
Because that concept, we coined it alternative spaces.
And
it
was called alternative spaces.
All the regions, and we'll do the same in community halls and all of. But something interesting, that's when I look at it, in most of these other regions, we had the same people who were active. Now I remember, when we go to Deep Slot, we had Papiki.
Yes. When you went to Katlehong, because
Yes.
Sbali was there, and
Mike Manan.
and Tuxedo, Jerry Tuxedo.
Jerry.
They were there during those
That's your
times.
legacy.
Yeah.
And
Also,
Maseko in Twan.
Yes.
Solo Maseko.
Yeah. And that idea was, well, we don't know these Grootmans and they're here and people are here, you know, because we grew up knowing that if we want to watch a show, Bralaki Khafela, professor, would hire a bus for us and we go to the market theater, or he'll take all of us into a train and we go to the market theater. Yeah. But that was like, wait a minute, this thing is here and they have these lights that they were plugging on and off. And I think I was 15, 16.
Anyway.
Yeah, and then that was like, okay, one day. And now when these things happen when you are older, you say, yeah, I have this idea of doing this theater and whatnot. But when you sit and try and investigate, you realize that this thing actually was sparked by this thing, you know, and not only for that and only for being supportive. When we do not have money, I call you and say, Mpho, we're doing the third Tembisa Theatre Week. I said 10,000 so we could survive. And he always does that. And we're not celebrating him because of he's another person that we know, but we're celebrating him not only for us, and we're celebrating you because you have contributed greatly in the whole country, in people's lives. And now as a Grootman, you live in many minds in the country because of the work that you're doing and your high contribution in shifting and changing the policy that governs us in this country. We celebrate you and we hope this gives you strength to go another years, more than 50, 100 years. And also, how can we contribute in you building this steady, amazing journey that you're starting in Polokwane? We are here to support you. And
thank you.
And we celebrate you so
thank
much.
You very much.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I was just watching the memo green.
I was about to say right now.
Give party
Today is green. Green is color of the day.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm far from green.
But you're close enough.
It's almost
every time. There's a green here. There's a green. Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
I know, Ralph.
Thank you for the honor. Thank you.
I was in Georgetown telling people about this Grootman who never gave up. If you think of which generation is yours? Because Mpho is part of every generation. He was part of his generation, which I don't know. He was part of the generation that was lab times. He was part of generation that came after that. He's part of our generation.
For sure.
So you've always been.
It's been a journey.
Now he's on the way to start a new generation.
Yeah, he's starting a new generation.
You know, sometimes I say to people that, like, for example, I always say to people, that Aubrey is my Grootman. But because I remember that, when he was still running his company and they were coming to Soshanguve and Ubuntoshi were performing and there were big actors at that time. And I was a member of Soshanguve Youth Cultural Summit and I was then tasked with an opportunity just to work around them in the venue and all of that. But that's
Yes, big.
Yeah, when Bra Aubrey was running GBR Productions, I think he just came from Northwest, GBR, and then State Theatre. But it's those kind of relationships that I still honor to say, these people, you've met them then, but they kept supporting you and all of that. And that's why I keep saying, maybe one of the other things that one has never given up is this continued support you keep getting in between on your journey, going somewhere. Even sometimes things hit your heart and you just keep going. Because this hand comes and pull you up.
Sure.
Hey, don't.
Let's go.
And this comes in different times in one's life and they just keep you going.
We're gonna end it in a way. So to that camera right there, that is just in front of you. You're just gonna tell people that we have the 10th Tembisa Theatre Week. Please come. We are celebrating you. And now we have this episode of Findings. Please tune in. Like remix.
Okay. You're all invited to come and join us. Uzo Blomanati, Tembisa Theatre Week, 10th anniversary. As part of the anniversary, Mpho, Joseph Molepo is being celebrated. So please come all, so that you can come hear me speak and talk about my journey, my life in theater, and also the appreciation of this recognition that has been given over me. Thank you very much. I really value this. See you then.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Prajay.
Thank you.
I love that word, Jay. You must always use it. Because I'm named after my uncle.
Oh, no.
His name is Joseph.
Nah, that is fantastic.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.